Welcome everybody. My name is Jessica Waxback. I'm the Program Director for Student Wellbeing over at the Health and Wellness Hub. If you were part of the very first session of this workshop that was offered, you would have already heard from me sharing resources regarding the Health and Wellness Hub. So to kind of continue on your journey as a graduate student, we felt that really covering the information on managing your stress and actually taking care of yourself is a vital tool. And I will say I worked full time while getting my master's degree, and it is a very tough thing to take care of, but it is also extremely important. And so I hope you can take away some information from this kind of tidbit to apply to your own life. Okay, so really, what is stress? Um, that tends to be one of those questions that we go and ask our undergraduate and graduate level students, and because they'll go and say, "Well, I'm stressed out," and a lot of times we say, "Well, how do you know?" And so it's going to go and be different for every individual, but really most often students and professionals, you're going to know when you are stressed. You're going to have those telltale signs that your body is saying, hey, halt, something's not going quite right now. And I'll go kind of in a brief overview of what that is. But what is stress? You're going to have those very stressful semesters and stressful years. And again, as a graduate level student, your stress is going to look vastly different, most likely, than when you were completing your undergraduate work. And so I do want you to keep in mind that it will look different, but also there's good stress and there's also going to be bad stress in your life. Stress does happen when what you are experiencing, you are definitely feeling like it's more than you can actually handle or manage. And again, most of you, you're going to have that kind of constant stress that you're going to be experiencing every semester, every day of your life. But you're really going to feel that stress when the level that you are experiencing is too much for you to safely handle. And so before it gets to that level, we want to make sure that you do go and involve self-care, because that is vital. It is extremely important of kind of keep it at bay. Don't let it become chronic. And so we do have good stress, and a lot of times it's difficult to go and think that. One thing as a graduate level student, going through this whole process of getting your graduate level degree, maybe you're working full time, maybe you're not working full time, but that in itself can be good stress. A lot of times it pushes you forward. It encourages you. I've had other students who have said it was when I was in the middle of getting married. It was in the middle of me having a child. It was in the middle of me going through some personal life, but also I felt great at the very end because I learned that I can manage my workload and my personal life that's going on. And so stress can be good. It can be that I found my purpose. This is a positive choice that I made. It does not all have to be bad, but a lot of times we definitely hear more of the bad versus that good. So how can stress be bad? You are going to go and have acute and chronic stress. And I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding that, but more likely than not, you're going to experience more acute stress versus that chronic. And acute, all that is kind of that short spurts. So we are in what we call dead week here at SFA. Most likely you're feeling that acute stress because you're getting to that finals time frame. Maybe you have finals that you wrapped up this week or you have them next week. But acute stress are little kind of bite-sized chunks of stress. It's not an ongoing. Ongoing is going to be that chronic stress. And a lot of times your acute stress, when it is not handled, when you're not addressing it and it just builds and builds and builds and builds, it's going to go and morph to be that chronic stress where your body is just in that constant case of it's constantly stressed, and you're going to have psychological and physiological experiences from that. And everyone's body is going to go and tell them that they are stressed in different ways. But why it's so important to have that self-care, and I'll talk about self-care at the end, is because if we don't address it at that acute level, we don't work on prevention, it's going to be that chronic, and your health is going to diminish. Your workload is going to diminish, and there are a lot of different negative effects, but it's going to take that much more work to improve your stress level if it is at that chronic level. So what happens when our body is stressed? And again, everyone is going to have how their body responds to stress can vary. There may be some similarities between you and family members, you and a loved one, or someone in one of your classes. But this is kind of most oftentimes what we see. Immune system, flu and skin disorders. A lot of times we see individuals where they're in that go, 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 kind of that fight or flight mode, or I have to fight this. I can't fly away from this. I have no choice. I have to push forward. I'm working 40 hours. I have a child, and I'm taking 9 hours of coursework. I just have to go, go, go. I have to fight through it. And then once finals hit, suddenly you fell ill. And that's all because our body is so powerful. We are in that fighting mode that it's pushing through until that kind of that we no longer have to fight, and suddenly, boom, we're sick. And so chances are that's happening around midterms, that's happening around finals week, or just big life scenarios that you're experiencing. Maybe you are having a child, you're getting married, you're getting a divorce, you have family members who are ill. Other things are cancer and cardiovascular system issues. Those are definitely going to be less common for that acute stress. They're going to be much more likely to get involved when you are having that chronic stress, because you are not taking care of your body in a physical and psychological way. Respiratory system, for some individuals, it's that increased heart rate, that their blood pressure is going up, or maybe they are shaking. They just they're having those panic attacks, just cannot get a good breath. That might be how someone's body um, uh, is involved with experiencing stress. Mental health. This is probably one of the most common ways that I have had students tell me that is how I know that I am stressed. My mental health is not in a good place. It's not where I want it to be. And that is because a lot of times at that whole fight or flight system where we're in that go, go, go mode, that we're not taking the time to think about what is going on. And so emotionally, we're becoming overwhelmed. Physically, our body is becoming overwhelmed, and it is taking a hit on our mental well-being. Fatigue. I know I haven't really asked you all to throw out some ways, but I want you to think about, do you feel tired when you are stressed? It is the end of the semester, and so maybe just naturally you are feeling tired because you've been going for 3 months. But that's also a sign of stress, where it does not matter how many hours of sleep I am getting, I'm constantly tired. Or I know I'm tired, but my brain is constantly going. And so when I'm trying to fall asleep, I just cannot. And so I'm tired, but I'm not really getting any sleep. Headaches. Some individuals are going to have migraines, especially when they are stressed. And that's just their body's telltale sign. Digestive health issues, ulcers. Some individuals, that is how their body will go in and tell them that, halt, you are stressed. Um, Other things that I've had students tell me, eye twitches. That for me personally is what I experience, where I am not all the time aware that I'm at a stressful level until my eye is twitching, and in a way, I'm glad that my body is telling me, hey, you're stressed, because if it wasn't for my eye twitches, I wouldn't really know that my body is overwhelmed at that moment. And so if you are unsure of how you know you're stressed, I want you to think about the next month, the rest of this year for 2025. How does your body tell you that you are stressed out? And have you been listening to it? And a lot of times we are in that fight mode. And so we don't take the time to actually listen to what those body cues are trying to tell us. And when our body is stressed out, we naturally see individuals are going to be more likely to use alcohol, drugs, and tobacco more than normal. And studies show, research shows that alcohol, drugs, and tobacco, it may kind of put a band-aid over what you're experiencing. That's all it's going to be, is a band-aid. It's not actually fixing your situation. In the end, it's going to actually make it worse. How to stay stressed. And so if you're thinking, you know what, I want to work on not being so stressed. How do I need to prevent that? Um, Personality traits definitely can work in your favor or against. If you are a type A personality, meaning you are that perfectionist, chances are you're going to be more stressed because you have your own personal morals, goals, guided lights of, I have these own standards and this is what I have to meet. And it could be that no one else in your realm is putting those standards on you but you. And so when you have those impossibly high personal standards, you're going to be stressed out to reach that. And as a graduate level student, I was about 3/4 of the way through. And at that moment, I realized, hey, I have all A's. I suddenly put that high standard on myself of, you know what? I want to graduate, finish my master's with a 4.0. But that was my own personal standard that I was putting on myself, which was causing me more stress. And if I just got a B or a C, and it really honestly wouldn't have been a big deal. But in the end, I was causing myself more stress. Those perfectionist individuals, and maybe you are one yourself, you beat yourself up when you don't meet your goals, or you become a workaholic. A lot of times, individuals, when you are becoming too stressed, you throw out your humor, and you just maybe you just don't want to watch, comedy shows, or you're just so stressed out. Nothing is funny in life at that moment, and in the end, that's going to cause you to be more stressed because you're not laughing. We do have the individuals who just take everything personally. And maybe you have a friend who doesn't matter what is going on, they have no control of it. It is not their own doing, but they're going to say, oh, well, this is all because of me. That's why it's raining right now. Because of me, it's just how my day is going to go. And that's just really honestly their personality. Working your body, being active. There is ample amount of research that shows moving your body in any way, shape, or form is going to be beneficial for you. If you're moving your body, so if you're exercising, and I'm not saying you have to run, you have to lift weights, but you're moving your body, you're going to be sleeping better, you're going to have better memory, you are going to your attitude is going to improve as well. And so exercise is tied in so many different kind of categories in your life. Eat in anything you want. And you may be thinking, yes, when I am stressed, I overindulge. I just eat everything. Last night, I was hanging with some friends and I was telling them, you know what? I'm not even hungry, but I just want to eat. And I tend to do that when I am stressed out. And so that's my body's way of telling me, hey, psych, slow down, just have some fun, laugh a little bit. Which, the not making time for play or recreation, that does go back to the whether or not it's exercise or sense of humor, or if you are becoming a workaholic, you need time to laugh. It doesn't matter if you need to schedule 10 minutes in the first half of the day and 30 minutes in the second half of the day of, I'm just going to doom scroll, or I'm going to watch funny cat videos on YouTube. I had a colleague who that is what they needed to do when they were stressed out. Their name was Edgar, and we would say, "Hey, Edgar, why don't you go and put your cat videos on?" We'd hear Edgar laugh, and it just lightened their mood, where they could suddenly get through their day in a much better tone. Um, Feeling helpless and feeling responsible for everything, a lot of times that does come down to kind of your moral compass and your personality traits. But there are ways that I want you to think about this of how are you causing yourself to stay stressed? Are you taking everything personally? Are you not making time for just you? And I will say, I'm a mother. I worked full time while I was getting my master's, and I felt guilty all the time for taking time for just myself. And I do that now. I'm not getting my PhD, but I am working full time as a single parent. I constantly feel guilty of taking time for myself, but I know that I have to. I have to have that self-care. I have to have that time for play and recreation. I can't be a workaholic because everything else will diminish. And so I encourage you, think about what types of things do you do to cause you to stay stressed. The stress dilemma. All of you, chances are you have certain dilemmas every single day that may cause you to have tiny bits of stress. It could be something such as, am I going to take 30 minutes to watch my doom scrolling or to watch Stranger Things? A lot of my students talk about that right now. I'm going to take 30 minutes to watch Stranger Things, or no, I'm going to work on my assignment that I have in my graduate level class. And that's a stress dilemma. Do I do this or do I do that? Do I wear comfortable shoes or do I wear shoes for the job that I'm doing that day? My friend is asking me, what do I think of their new significant other? Do I lie or do I tell the truth? Chances are you're going to have those little daily stress dilemmas all the time. And that alone can go and cause you stress. And so be aware of that and think about, okay, is it really that big of a deal that you aren't um, putting 30 minutes in to work on one class? Maybe you do need to watch 30 minutes of cat videos. And so really think through those small dilemmas that you have every single day. What stress management is not. And I do really like to cover this information. I find it extremely important to say, you know what, this is not what managing your stress looks like, at least not in a healthy way. Aggression and withdrawal. So aggression, it looks like striking out physically or emotionally. Maybe you're always kind of a chill, middle of the road personality until you're bottling up, and then bam, you lash out at friends, loved ones, colleagues. That's not a healthy way to deal with your stress. You should have been dealing with the stress along the way versus bottling it up. Misplaced aggression, kicking a dog, yelling at a waiter. We all have that kind of that tipping point. And that is not a great way to deal with the stress. We don't want to get to that tipping point. We want to deal with it in small spurts so it doesn't get to that tipping point where you do become overwhelmed. The other types of what stress management is not is withdrawn, physically and mentally. So whether or not it's I no longer want to be physically connected with my loved ones, mentally daydreaming, constantly sleeping too much, denial, alternating your state of mind with drugs or alcohol because you know what, I just don't want to think about what is stressing me out. The mentally and physically withdrawn, that is what we really try to emphasize for our students to notice of others, because a lot of times you are not aware that you're sleeping too much. You are not aware that you're in denial or you're daydreaming, but others are picking that up on you. And so a lot of times with managing your stress and self-care, it's kind of that two-way street where You want to recognize your own, but also as just a good person, recognize it in other people. Where I notice that Darius is daydreaming more than usual, or is, striking out emotionally. That's just part of being a good person. How can nutrition and stress man and nutrition and how can it, what role does it have with managing our stress? And sadly, it does impact it. Avoid things that you really should avoid. And I am guilty of not avoiding this all the time. Caffeine. And I'm not saying that if you're a coffee drinker or an energy drink that you can't do that. But if you're suddenly so stressed where you were going from a coffee in the morning, coffee in the afternoon, and you're drinking 3 cups in the morning, 3 cups in the afternoon, that's not going to be good. One, that's not going to be good for your blood pressure. But that's just not going to be good for your concentration level. You need to go and deal with your stress in a different manner. Alcohol, again, all that is doing is putting a band-aid on it. It's that way of I'm alternating my state of mind because I don't want to think about what is happening. I don't want to think about that. My aunt's personal story, my aunt is extremely sick and has given up on life. I don't want to think about that, but it's also not a healthy way to go and turn to drugs and alcohol and tobacco. Refined sugars, those are also not a healthy way. They can impact you in a negative way. Things that you should increase, especially when you know you're going into a stressful situation. I'm just finishing up my first semester of the graduate program. I'm about to start a new program. I just had a kid. Increase your fruit, your vegetables, and your protein. You need those vitamins and minerals, good carbohydrates, good oils. You need all of that in those type of foods. You're not going to get them in caffeine, alcohol, and refined sugar. You're going to get them in fruits, vegetables, and protein. So eat better. Not saying avoid your caffeine, avoid your sugary drinks, your alcohol, your chocolate. Do that if that is what you do, but also increase the fruits, vegetables, and protein. Now, so we just went and talked about how, like, little tips on how you need to take care of yourself when it comes to nutrition and those ways to not deal with stress management, that aggression, that withdrawing, that daydreaming. So what are those other positive ways to deal with stress? Relaxation skills. Whether or not it is mindful breathing, it is yoga, you put a YouTube video on, you Google relaxation skills. Sometimes you can get short little 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute videos where it's a visualization where someone is walking you through walking on a beach, and it just puts us in an amazing mindset. Same thing with those deep breathing exercise. I know that Apple, just because I have an Apple Watch, I know it has the ability to do breathing exercises. Sense of humor. So again, my colleague who watches the cat videos when they're feeling stressed out, don't throw that out. Go watch a funny movie. Just laugh. Yesterday was De-Stress Fest over at the Student Recreation Center and the Health and Wellness Hub. We were doing make your own stress balls. The number of students that simply laughed when I had them blow up their balloon and then let the air out and then made the funny farty noise and they laughed and they felt guilty for laughing. No, like that's something you do want. Turn to that being, exercising. Again, you don't have to run. You don't have to lift weights. You want to go work in your garden. Granted, it is very cold outside. All power to you. You want to go climb the rock wall. You want to go on the trails. You want to dance. Great. Awesome. That's moving your body. Positive talk. So often I meet with students who are constantly downplaying their success, where everything is just a negative. And so they are constantly having to restructure their mindset on positive talk. And it can be extremely difficult And a lot of times you won't know that you're doing it, that you're guilty of it until someone else says, "Oh yeah, you always go and kind of find that negative thing and you're so hard on yourself." And so if you find yourself that way, I encourage you, try to do that positive talk. Play, hang out, game night. There are lots of activities in Nacogdoches. Maybe you're not located in Nacogdoches. So many towns, whether or not it's a small town, it's a large city, they're going to have free events, free activity. Go out and have fun. Have a support group. And whether or not it is family or friends, or you know what, I need to expand it. Maybe I need to fund someone else in the grad program because you know what, they can relate. That's also nice. Touch, whether or not that, you know what, I just need a hug from someone. Or I just need to be physically close to someone. You know what, we don't need to be touching, but just kind of being near them. That is how I kind of relax. We do have personal support. You have personal support in regards to counseling services and the counseling clinic here at SFA. Utilize that support if you do need it. And then, excuse me, a lot of companies, their health insurance has that professional, that mental health aspect tied to insurance. So say you're graduating in the spring and you're like, hey, I'm no longer an SFA student, but how do I get those mental health resources? Well, if you do have insurance through your company, look to see what mental health resources they do have available, because we've seen it becoming more of the norm that those are included as a benefit versus not included. These are other things that maybe you do every day, or maybe you struggle. Learn to say yes and learn to say no. You know what? Yes, I can stop worrying about this project that's due next week and I can go watch my cat videos, or I can go and see the Budweiser Clydesdales that were in front of the Austin building earlier today. Or no, you know what? Give me 30 minutes. Let me finish where I am on this essay for whatever grad program, grad class you're in, and then I'll go out and have some fun. Reading, managing your time, taking off time. A lot of times that comes down to personality aspects of if you are an introvert versus an extrovert. My extroverts, you thrive, you refill your cup, you take care of yourself by being around other people. My introverts, and I'm more introverted, talking to people exhausts me. I can do it and then I'm tapped out. I'm done. I have to recharge my battery by being by myself, reading, watching TV, thinking about nothing. That's how I recharge myself. But you know what? I know that is how I take care of myself. That is my self-care. Some of my friends who are more extroverted, they don't get it. They think I'm a little odd, but you know what? They know it's just how we each recharge our battery. So learn, how do you recharge your battery? And think that throughout every semester, throughout every life event that you're experiencing. Um, so have something that you can turn to, even if you have to put it on your schedule. Please do so. A lot of times I live by my schedule, and so if it's not on my schedule, it does not exist. So put self-care on there because it is important. If you're not taking care of your own health, you're not going to succeed in your grad program. You're not going to succeed in your personal life and your professional life. You need to do self-care and stress management, but in a positive aspect. And then I know I would have talked about well-being coaching when we talked about the Health and Wellness Hub, but just kind of to do another shameless plug, we do help many students, graduate level and undergraduate, deal with managing their time, managing their stress level, becoming more self-confident, getting involved, because a lot of times we don't put ourselves first, especially being in a grad program, because chances are that's not the only thing you have going on. You probably have 3 or 4 other major life things taking place. Timely care, again, if you're not here locally in Nacogdoches or in, kind of surrounding areas, you do have access to Timely Care, which is 9 virtual visits per school year, so fall through the end of the summer. So if you scan that QR code, you can create an account and you can go and shop for a psychiatrist or for a counselor, depending on your specific needs. Thrive at UT, you can download their app. You can take a few short assessments, but what I encourage most individuals to utilize are the resources that are there. We have plenty of resources listed on the website, but sometimes we just want an app because that's kind of a little bit more user friendly. If that is your thing, download that app. You do not have to make an account. You select SFA. You can look at all the various resources that we have available to you. And then that is all I have. And I know I went 1 minute over. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
I don't think there are any questions. Thank you so much, Jessica. Your presentation definitely helped to elucidate some of the things that I've been going through, especially with finals. So I really appreciate it. It explains all the midnight snacking I've been doing. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope that the graduate students who joined us got something out of it, and I hope that you plan to continue joining us when we restart this next semester in February. So thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great weekend.
Good luck on finals.
Cheers.
Thank you all. Bye.